order. Has everybody looked at the minutes, and does anybody want to approve or discuss the minutes, I guess, before we approve it? Old minutes from March 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and whose voice was that? Richard?
Tim, sorry.
Oh, Tim. I'm sorry. Okay, Tim. I didn't.
That's all right.
And anybody like?
I'll second. I'll second.
Oh, Cindy. Okay. So, motion by Tim and seconded by Cindy. Okay, old business. What do we have on old business?
There are no items on old business, Mr. Chair.
Okay, new business. Dr. Wack hasn't joined us, has he? I don't see him.
Yes, Dr. Wack appears that he has joined the meeting.
I've joined the meeting.
You are here. Okay. Well, Dr. Wack and I have both been working with the Action Club that's high schoolers on Cops Branch, which parallels 31 on the old Fenby Farm golf course. And the students, how many students have there been?
You know, at various times, as many as, you know, a dozen, 15. There's probably about 5 or 6 that are consistent, you know, have been consistently showing up. Apparently, they've got even a larger number that have, you know, expressed interest nominally, but the active participation is probably a dozen.
That sounds about right. And they really have completed a stream study looking at stream quality, the various characteristics, the stream bank, plant species, water species, from what road is that? Near the Cops Branch study that they did. They started down near
yeah, with Byron Madigan at the county. He's the streams guy at the county, and he's been really great working with them, basically teaching them stream ecology and hydrology, and you know, what are the various variables that are significant for determining stream health and water quality. So that's sort of how we got to the idea about the tree planting.
Yeah. Yeah, and the students have been looking for an activity, not just the study, but an activity. And sure, we can pick, or they can pick trash out of the stream, but really,
which we've done.
Yeah, to take it up to another level, there have been a proposal to plant stream or trees to help improve the buffering.
Yeah. So yep. So that's one of the big determinants of stream health, is the size of the stream buffer and the number of trees and the number of the amount of vegetation on either side of a stream bank. And, you know, at Wakefield, because of the golf course, there are areas where there is no buffer. The stream is right up to open field or the walking path. So there's some areas there that where there's some opportunity to create a larger stream buffer by doing some tree planting. And then, as we, you know, discussed, we did some research about tree banking and the programs that would be available or could be available to the city to generate some revenue through the tree banking, and then the sale of what do you call those, tree credits? Or
yeah, they forest bank credits.
Forest bank credits, yeah.
And basically what it is it's really just planting out trees on that property adjacent to the stream. And then in turn, the city can turn around and sell that credit to developers who need to offset, say, forest loss, or they are required to mitigate one way or the other. The city does not lose access to the property. And it's kind of a win-win, because I think in the long run, they will end up not having to maintain as much property, meaning mowing it all the time once these trees get established. And we're also improving the quality of the stream water itself. And we were hoping that you all, meaning us, the forestry board could kind of partner to help facilitate this with the city. And I know we threw a lot out in a short period using big words, so there's got to be questions about this.
And the other piece of it is also that there are opportunities for grant funding to buy the trees, and the kids would provide, you know, with the other adult volunteers, provide the labor. So it's kind of a no-brainer. There would be no cost to the city really to speak of. They just have to say yes. And there's a revenue opportunity through the sale of the tree bank credits.
Yeah, and even further down the road, there could be some revenue in doing some partial harvests of mature trees, but that's 50, 60 years down the road. Plus, I think the benefits for the tree commission is that here's a new activity where we're actually enhancing and increasing forest canopy within the city or the city property. I know it's way off Main Street. It isn't like our Arbor Day plantings where we're putting something in a park or the local school. This is actually enhancing a very thin forest and improving water quality. Any comments out
Negative
there?
about it. It's great. I think it's a great plan, and I think there's nothing negative to be said about it. It sounds like positive all around.
Yeah, and really and I don't know how much Eric deals with the people that do the mowing, but there is some maintenance that needs to be done around the trees for the first 3 to 5 years. But the maintenance really is no
Right.
more than what they're already doing. They're already mowing it, and it may require some herbicide treatment right around the trees to keep the grass down, but some of the times you don't need to do that. But once the trees are established, then there's an area that really doesn't need to be mowed.
Yeah, I see nothing, no downside, all plus.
Okay. Anybody have questions out there?
Yeah, he's at work.
I don't know.
Okay.
Off
No,
mute.
no questions from me, Mr. Chair.
Good. Okay. I couldn't see anybody's face, but
Can anybody hear us?
I can.
There we go. Somebody's listening.
I'm listening. Can't see my face, but I'm listening.
My question is,
I couldn't hear the question.
How far off the stream bank are you looking to plant the trees?
Actually, if we partner with an agency like Forestry for the Bay, they would come out and specify how far away it would be, but usually there's enough of a strip to get twice the width of a mower. So I know that stream undulates quite a bit, and especially in the areas where there's no buffer, because it's been allowed to wander all over because there is no buffer. But it's usually about 12 to 15 foot, and some of the times they make the buffer 20 foot if it's especially a low floodplain.
Yeah, we've discussed an average of 20 feet. You know, obviously in different places, like you said, because of the terrain, more or less, but the length of the park along the stream, it would be an average of 20 feet on either side.
Yeah, I'm quite sure Byron Madigan with the county could give us some direction on that too.
It basically would create a corridor down the middle of the park of forested area on either side of the stream.
And I think, and we haven't really had a chance to talk much with the students just because of this virus, but I think my impression, at least, Robert, we haven't really even talked about it a whole lot. We wanted to start small with the small planning, and it could easily be built onto.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, start off with, I don't know, 100 saplings, a couple dozen saplings, and then, mark off an area, plant it, and next year do it again, whatever
Yeah.
we can get funding for and volunteers to do.
And I think the only other thing is we would have to have the county attorney on board so that she could do, if say the city wants to do a forest bank, there's some legal paperwork that needs to be done, but it won't be a first in the county. I know Union Bridge and I believe New Windsor and a couple other municipalities have already put in forest banks.
Yep.
So,
The guy, was it Bowman or Beaumont, the guy at the county?
yeah, Bowman. With
Bowman.
the county, he actually is the banker. He keeps track of banks at all the forested acreage that qualifies and has been legally put into that bank.
I spoke with him, and he said the city just has to apply, and that it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we won't be reinventing the wheel. This won't be
No.
anything new. So, and I think for us, it will help having the name of the forestry board behind it, meaning it'll help this kind of young environmental action group partnering with the forestry board on prompting or at least encouraging the city to do this. And I guess, Robert, you would probably know better than I as to how easy it is to get our I was going to say commissioners, but our council people to get on this. So I don't know where they would stand.
So with the kids from the Environmental Action Committee already presented this to the mayor and council, and they were all supportive. I mean, there was no negative feedback, so I can't imagine that would have changed. But certainly we'd have to go back to them and represent it with details and get an explicit green light.
Yeah, and meet with the students and see how big a planning they would like to do initially.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. No, we don't mow all the way up to the stream anyway. So that's why I was just checking. I don't know if everybody heard me when I was asking how far off the stream bed you were planting. But yeah, we're well past that range that you guys would be planning or would be planning.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing, Eric, that probably would end up falling on you would be that question of doing an herbicide treatment around the trees periodically to keep the weeds down if, say, something came up. Now I know, or I think that the students would probably participate in maybe even weeding the tubes out, because that can take a little bit of time, but it's for planting that size, it would be less than an hour or two of real maintenance and some of the time trees get pushed over. So probably be good to have a student out there with a hammer periodically driving a stake back in to upright a tree.
Yep. Yeah, you can count on, this would be an ongoing activity for the group where the students would go out periodically and check on them and do the maintenance and
whatnot. Good. Okay, well let's we'll, I guess, meet with the students and pull together a proposal of what the group wants to do and then present it again to the city council. Does that sound like a good start?
Sure.
Okay. Any other input from the other commission members?
I say go for it.
Cool. Okay. Great.
Quick question, actually, and I think I might have just missed this, but what age of students is this? Are
these are high school kids.
McDaniel schools.
They're
Okay, they're all
high
high
school
school.
kids at Westminster High. A couple times there have been other kids from other schools, a couple kids from Winters Mill, a couple middle schoolers who are siblings of some of the high school kids. They've sort of come and went, but the core kids are from Westminster High.
Okay. I was just curious, and how does that, is there a teacher there at Westminster High that is part of this coordination, or?
Yeah, so
Curious.
yes, there is a faculty member who's their faculty sponsor. It's one of the science teachers, and her name eludes me at the moment. She's not super involved. but she is their sponsor for this. So
My daughter
Okay.
had her, and I still can't remember her name either.
Mona Becker also teaches there, and she's also involved, but she's not the faculty sponsor. Somebody else.
Okay.
Kim something? Kim
Yeah, it is Kim. Wow.
Salzberg. Kim Salzberg.
Salzberg, yes, that's it.
That's who the
Salzberg,
faculty
okay.
sponsor is.
I've talked a little bit too with the college, and they were a little bit interested in doing that, but at this point there hasn't been any real.
Everybody's a little distracted.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Good. Okay, so do we need to vote on this? Do I hear a motion that Steve and Dr. Wax should move forward with pulling together a proposal to present to the council? Can I do that?
Make a motion to move ahead.
Okay, I'm making a motion to move ahead to get a proposal.
And I'll second that motion.
Way to go, Drew. Thank you. Drew seconded it, Andrew. You get that? The other Drew.
Yes, I got that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, so moving along, what's the next item? I can't see it on my screen.
So can I bug out?
You can. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you guys. Take care.
Cool.
Stay healthy.
Yep, you too.
Wash your hands.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad
And
Dr.
Steve-
Mike could join us.
And Steve, Mr. Chair, the agenda is coming up now.
Cool. Okay. Oh, this is a good one to talk about. Eric, I guess you're on since your name. Oh no, Sam's on, right? Yeah, for the 2020 Urban and Community Forest Workshop. What do we
Well,
know about it?
unfortunately, I don't have much because I have not heard a single word out of Bartlett since we had our last meeting in March. So there's no update to provide as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, okay, well, that's, if we know updates. I think from the last meeting, they were still interested in hosting it. It just was a hiccup this past year of not being able to get the registration, but I think they figured it out, right?
Well, they did, but then they also don't know how they're going to host it since we don't know about where Maryland will be at that point in terms of limiting the number of people in any one location, where we can have it. Bartlett was interested in doing a virtual event, but they were going to look into doing that, and I haven't gotten an update from them in regards to that. So we're not really moving forward with workshop because there's nothing to move forward with yet.
Okay. Would it be okay, you think, for us to call them and find out and say, hey, we hadn't heard back, we had a meeting and it came up?
We can. That's why I was kind of hoping that somebody from Bartlett would be on this meeting,
Well,
but
that's great. That's why you were asking. Okay.
yeah.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I did speak to Bartlett, and they had interest in conducting a virtual forestry workshop due to COVID-19. There was interest there. So we, let me go back to,
Drew, have you gotten any correspondence from them? Because I have not.
I have not, but when I spoke to Paul Mullins at
When?
Bartlett on, let's see, on May 20th, 2020, we contacted Bartlett to discuss the workshop, and they were going to provide more information during the meeting and would like to get the commission's thoughts on possibly conducting a virtual meeting. And if the commission is, if they would like to conduct a virtual meeting, if that would be a desire of the commission to do that for this year, we would like to also discuss the date of any workshop and any backup dates that you may think of, so we can give Bartlett and city staff flexibility on arranging such a virtual workshop.
No, that sounds cool. I would say, if we contact them back and say, yeah, I would think, or does anybody have any objections to I mean, obviously a virtual workshop isn't going to be as good as a hands-on, but does anybody else have any opinion on that?
I think it's a good idea. I think that while it's not as good as a hands-on workshop, I think that there's a possibility of gaining more people in attending virtually simply because of the convenience of sitting in front of their computer.
Really, no, and it has a good history and a good base, and I think you're right, Drew, that it would actually potentially be an even larger audience because of that. Cool. So I guess Drew or Sam or somebody get back with Bartlett and say, hey, we'd like to move ahead, or?
Yes, we can do that, Mr. Chair.
Great, okay.
Already on mute.
Any other things to discuss on that since we don't have an update?
No, I know.
Okay, well, let's move along to item C, 2020 Arbor Day celebration. Andrew Gray, Mr. Gray, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Due to COVID-19, the city was unable to host the annual Westminster Arbor Day celebration this spring, but we are committed to hosting some type of celebration this year to commemorate Arbor Day. This past month, I spoke with Miss Ann Gilbert from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources Forest Service. She mentioned that other communities have expressed interest in conducting either a digital Arbor Day celebration or conducting an Arbor Day celebration during the 6-month anniversary of Arbor Day. This date would be Saturday, October 24th, 2020. Both types of celebrations would be live streamed on the city Facebook page. However, the digital celebration would only involve city staff and no participants. I would also like to note that Ms. Gilbert reminded me that this year is the 30th year the city has been recognized as a tree city. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Cool, okay, well,
Well,
I'm okay with that. Any other comments on that? Okay, not hearing anything. I guess we can move on. Do we need to vote on that? I don't think we need to.
Well, what would your thoughts be, Mr. Chair and the commission, on either having a Arbor Day celebration at the 6-month anniversary of Arbor Day, or just having a digital Arbor Day celebration?
Well, if it's at the 6th month, that makes it what? Because there's like 3 different Arbor Days on the calendar. There's national, state, and local ones.
Well, from National Arbor Day, 6 months out would be October 24th of this year.
I mean, I'd rather have an in-person one, but are we going to be restricted on what we can do, or?
And not sure yet.
Yeah, maybe that we'll all be there standing 6 foot apart with masks on and taking turns using latex gloves to throw dirt in a hole. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we can get more details on it, that's great too. My vote would be for an in-person one, but I understand the need for a virtual one too.
yeah, I
We-
think, I mean,
Oh,
I
sorry,
think
go
it
ahead, Cindy.
makes sense. I'm sorry. You know, plan for the in-person, even if, you know, even with, you know, the typical safety precautions that we all are trying to do right now. And if you have to change the virtual, then you do, but at least, you know, at least it's a plan for something tangible, real. And it can always, I think you can, you know, it can evolve. It can be changed quickly into digital is what I'm guessing, or not.
I am in complete agreement with Cindy's idea.
I love it, Cindy.
So-
Well, you know, it's, you know, every organization is in this situation right now, not knowing, you know, how to plan for what.
Yeah.
I do think, you know, with the Arbor Day celebration, I think it's small enough that it could easily be changed on fairly short notice, as opposed to like the urban tree workshop, where that's a big enough thing that I think you need to plan it as virtual, because if you planned it for real life and you had to change, that would be a bigger effort.
No, I agree.
I think we can combine both ideas, that Eric can be there actually doing the tree planting. I can be there on behalf of the social media to do a Facebook Live feed, so it's still virtual for anybody who wants to watch. And then we can also utilize whatever media or meeting platform, like if we're still using Zoom at that point, we can utilize that. Somebody else could be there, say Drew, running a Zoom meeting that all of the commission members are present on the Zoom meeting as well as Eric, so that everybody can see, and then we can post that video later. But I think the live feed on Facebook would be a good way to showcase it virtually and still physically do it.
Agreed.
Cool. Good. That sounds great. Okay. Let's plan it that way, since we seem to have a consensus. Uh-oh. Do we have to review the city comprehensive tree plan, Mr. Gray? I shouldn't have said it that way. I'm kidding you.
Mr. Chair, every year the tree plan has to be reviewed per code. So I wanted to get this started now so we can have a couple months to discuss it.
Good.
Or for you all to review it, so it wouldn't have to be done in less than a week.
When you say in less than a week, you mean it has to be completed by next week?
No. Because when you're usually sent your packet on Friday, and today is Wednesday, I didn't want this to be something that you all would have to read through and make recommendations from Friday till today. I wanted it to be so you had more time to review. So up until in September, or actually I have a Monday, August 3rd for comments, but I can go into that a little bit more in deep detail when we get on that item.
Okay. Okay. What else? Any other things you need to?
I was just I'm not sure if we left item B yet, Mr. Chair, for the Urban and Community Forestry Workshop, or sorry, the Arbor Day celebration, item C.
I'm sorry, I assumed we had, but you know how I operate, so. Do we need to vote on item C?
No, you do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Does anybody have anything further to say about item C? Not hearing anything?
Nope.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Or was that a nope?
There was a no from me. I'm not sure if there was a yes from anybody else.
Okay. Okay, well, let's move along to item D for Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to Chapter 148 of the Charter and Code of the City of Westminster, it shall be the responsibility of the City Tree Commission to study, investigate, counsel, develop, and/or update annually and recommend to the Mayor and Common Council a written plan for the care, preservation, pruning, planting, replanting, removal, or disposition of trees and shrubs in parks, along streets, and in other public areas. Such plan will be presented annually to the Mayor and Common Council. Upon its review, the Mayor and Common Council may modify and amend such proposed plan and adopt it by resolution as the official comprehensive city tree plan. In 2009, the Mayor and Common Council voted to approve resolution number 1908, adopting a City of Westminster comprehensive tree plan. Planning staff would like the commission to review the comprehensive tree plan and provide any comments they may have to improve this plan. City staff will also review the comprehensive tree plan and provide comments. Planning staff would like to receive comments from the commission no later than Monday, August 3rd, so any comments may be incorporated into a draft document for subsequent commission review and possible approval during your September 2020 meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Cool. Okay. That's well said. Anybody have anything to add to that, or any comments?
So I'm assuming that we're proposing that Andrew would send this out and ask for feedback, comments over the course of the next couple months. Am I assuming correctly?
That is correct. That is correct. And in the staff report that was sent out to the commission on Friday, there is a link to the city webpage, a hot link that will take you to the adopted city tree plan on the City Tree Commission webpage.
Okay, oops, missed that.
Now, I tried the link and it came up, and then I went back and I couldn't get it to come up. And it may just be me. Maybe I erased something, but I'll double check that. So.
And if you have any problems,
we'll let you know.
yes, if you have any problems accessing it, please let me know.
Cool.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so I guess it's incumbent upon us to look through that and make comments and get those back to you then, right, Andrew?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Good. Okay, what's next on our agenda? We have, oh my gosh, the 2020 commission elections. That's today?
Yes, Mr. Chair. And just to give you a very brief background, pursuant to Chapter 148 of the Charter and Code of the City of Westminster, the officers of the commission shall consist of a chairperson and a vice chairperson. Both the chairperson and vice chairperson shall be elected by the members of the commission and will hold such offices at the pleasure of the mayor and common council. Currently, there are no known commission rules to dictate what month the commission shall conduct its election. The commission has not conducted an election since at least 2015, and since this time, one new commission member has been appointed by the mayor and subsequently confirmed by the common council. In the month of May, the Planning and Zoning Commission conducts elections pursuant to their rules. Planning staff recommends that the timing of elections for the Tree Commission be consistent with the timing of the Planning and Zoning Commission elections for the purpose of tracking and consistency of city boards and commissions. Since the commission meets quarterly, June would be the most appropriate time to conduct such elections. And Mr. Chair, we are also trying to get the other two boards, Historic District Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, with around this time having their elections.
Okay, that sounds fine, but you're going to have to walk us through this election process.
Since we've never done it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember we kind of had a hand raise back in 2015, and somehow somebody pointed at me, but really, if anybody else wants to be the chair, that's fine.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are we able to conduct elections with not all members being present?
I have no idea. Does anybody have a take on that?
Mr. Chair, I believe, and I'm going to pull up the code now, that the code states that a quorum of the commission shall be 3 voting members in Chapter 148 trees. And let me pull that up right now.
While Drew is checking on that, the reason I ask is if anybody nominates Richard, he's not here to say yes or no.
I know I shouldn't be laughing. I think we found a new chair. That would be cruel and unusual. I like Richard.
Can we do that to him? No.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I am in Chapter 148, Section 148.5, Officers Quorum, Officers Proceedings and Quorum. It has a quorum at any meeting shall be 3 voting members, which we do have now. It's your choice if you would like, it would be nice to have elections today, but it's totally your choice. But if,
I mean, I have no issue, and I kind of would like it as a collective decision personally. If somebody doesn't want to have the election, I'm happy with that too. So I don't know, Drew or Cindy, you're the other two members. What are your thoughts? And
I have another question. This is probably for Drew.
yes, yes.
So a quorum is 3 voting members. So if Steve is selected to be chair, he can't vote for himself. Therefore, there is no quorum of 3 members.
Correct, but there is a quorum at the meeting. So Steve would recuse himself from voting.
But it can't be approved as there's only 2 people and there's not 3. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, he can't vote for himself. So
yeah,
although there is a quorum to approve the minutes or something like that, they can't approve chair and vice chair. We might have to schedule a special meeting just for the elections.
I get what you're saying, but I do believe there still are enough members to vote. And Mr. Depot, not to put you on the spot, but do you agree with my assessment that there would still be enough members to vote, since 3 is a quorum and we do have 3 members, even though right now 2 members, I guess theoretically, well, I'm not sure if 1 member can vote for themselves, but 2 members could vote for one of the members being in one of the positions.
I would agree. I would think quorum is to what the maximum allowance is for each group or each commission. So if it's 5, quorum is 3. There does not have to be 5 present members to meet quorum, at least that's how I read the rules and regulation. If that was the question. So if we have 3
Yes.
active members, that would make up quorum by the rules of 3 of 5.
But I
Yes.
think what Sam was trying to say is if one person has to recuse themselves and there's only 2, is that's still not, is that enough to vote?
It is. We still have a quorum at the meeting. If one person recuses themselves, they are still active at the meeting. If they do recuse themselves, I would ask them to state why they are. But as far as the meeting and functioning, we still have 3 people.
And it would be a majority of the quorum.
Mm-hmm.
okay. This is above and beyond me. I mean, I understand what you have to do with it. I just, either way.
So essentially, if Tim and I are good with Steve continuing in his present capacity, that would be all right.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think,
would,
Tim?
we would want to vote for that.
So I will make the motion that Chair Allgaier remain in that position.
I can't
And I'll second it. I seconded it.
Okay, so did you get that, Drew, that Tim made the motion and Cindy seconded?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And now we would just need a vice chair.
Vice chair. Who's the current vice chair? Cindy?
Yes, sir.
I think it's me. I'm in charge of vice. I
Um,
always like to be in charge of vice.
Okay, well, I make the motion that Cindy remain as vice chair.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so the chair made the motion, which I don't know if I technically can do it, but it's so painful, I'm doing it anyway, and Drew seconded the motion. So was that all copacetic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So, and what do we have? Concluding remarks, or do we have any other agenda items? And that was aimed at Mr. Gray.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am trying to get the agenda back up on the screen.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. There you go.
Cool. Okay, so we have then commission comments. Does anybody out there need to add anything? The commissioners? No? Okay, not hearing anything. We'll move. What's that?
Not really.
Well, then we'll move along to staff and public comments. Mr. Gray, you're first with the tree commission rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to the Charter and Code of the City of Westminster, the Commission shall adopt its own rules of procedure and keep a record of the proceedings. Currently, there are no known Commission rules. Planning staff plans to draft a set of proposed rules for the Commission to review in the month of September. And also, I would like to say that if anyone listening today has not filled out their 2020 United States Census information, please do that ASAP, so the City of Westminster, Carroll County, and the state of Maryland can receive their fair share of federal funding. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Cool, thank you. And you said the Planning Commission is coming up with a set of rules? I didn't quite hear that.
Mr. Chair, the Planning and Zoning Commission has adopted their set of rules of procedure last year. With that, they held commission elections this past month. In May, they held their elections, and we are trying to get the other boards and commissions to conduct yearly elections right around that same time. So
Yeah.
all four planning related boards and commissions can have, so they have elections at the same time. So as staff, it's easier for us to remember it's election season for the boards and commissions. So if all the boards and commissions have it at one consistent time of year, that would be beneficial for staff.
Sounds good to me.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just to say also that the planning staff is going to be coming up with the, with rules, not the planning commission.
Oh, okay, I misheard that. Thank you. That was my confusion. Okay, and it's good. Thank you. Whose voice was that? I didn't.
It's Andrea.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, what's the next item on staff comments? Arbor Day week plannings. Eric, you're on.
Hi, everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Well, since, of course, the whole situation with COVID, during Arbor Week, I planted 4 trees along between Main Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. There's pictures somewhere on here of 2 of the trees that I planted. I planted a serviceberry in front of rock salt because the cherry that was there died. And
How do you just call those in this meeting?
And then also at 119 Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the little convenience store there at Union Street, I planted a hawthorn in that location.
Oh, that's good. That needed something.
Yes. And then also in front of Avenue Taylor or Avenue Cleaners there where the one tree fell uprooted from the tornado.
Yeah.
I put a cherry tree in that location. And then up at, I believe it's 149 Pennsylvania Avenue, there was a serviceberry that was uprooted from one of the storms we had here. And so I replanted a serviceberry in that location.
In our state that needs or wants to be tested.
Okay. I noticed, I guess next to rock salt, there's a parking lot. Is that's not a city lot? Was that?
It used to be, but it's no longer a city parking lot. It's
Okay. And because I noticed there were new plantings in that area, and I'm assuming that.
yes, whoever took over that parking lot now takes over that There's 2 planting areas along Main Street there.
Okay, yeah, I just thought they'd be good potential tree sites, but since they aren't city property, then I guess we'll move on to other spots then. Great, well, thank you, Eric. Anything else you need to add about your Arbor Day tree plantings or?
I'm thinking for the site of the next Arbor Day planting, that, virtual possibly,
Yeah,
would be at City Hall. We lost a couple trees there as well from the tornado, and I think that would be a good location.
yeah, that would be a good idea.
I already have 2 locations planting sites there. We can plant 2 trees there when the time comes.
Great, good. Well, thank you. Okay, back to you, Mr. Gray. What do we have next?
Mr. Chair, let me bring up the agenda. I believe that is it.
That's what I thought. Is there anything anybody needs to add or comments, or how do you like having a Zoom meeting?
We're kind of used to them, so.
Yes, yes.
I have been listening to the governor today. He just finished up, or he's finishing up. Just some good news if you're interested. This Friday, indoor table service at restaurants at 50% capacity can now
Wow.
occur as long as you're meeting distancing requirements. Outdoor ceremonies also this Friday are allowed following distancing. Outdoor amusements and rides, mini golf, go-karts, outdoor pools at 50% capacity also by this Friday. And then next Friday, June 19th, indoor gyms and fitness facilities, casinos, arcade malls will be able to open. Again, meeting distancing requirements. So good news for downtown restaurants and restaurants in the city. They can start operating indoor.
Huh, good. Well, thank you for sharing that. That is good news.
Good news.
And that's all I had. I just thought I'd share that. Again, I was just watching the slideshow.
Well, we can say we heard it almost from the horse's mouth. That's great. Thank you. Okay, I guess I move to adjourn the meeting, or can I do that?
Yes, you may, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Okay, with that, I guess I'm going to book out and look for further emails from Mr. Gray.
Okay,
Yes.
likewise.
Thank you guys all really for putting up with me and the meeting and having to deal with the technology. Hopefully we'll be able to see ourselves face to face again too.
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, I'm heading
Or at
out.
least Matt.
Yes.
Okay, y'all take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.